Nick, if natural law is inscribed or written on our hearts, isn't it a feeling? And if it's a feeling and a woman just believes that she's better equipped to raise the children and she should have custody, how is that against natural law?
Well, natural law is inscribed on who inscribes it is God himself despite the fall, yet it's not full in every one. There's different degrees to which they grasp the light of nature or the natural law. And so sometimes in certain societies that really are, you could say, are pretty degenerate in morals, God gives them over to a debased mind. And so they don't have much respect for the natural law or nature. God gives them over. And so the light of the natural law is not as complete in that society or person.
So,
In
Okay.
fact, they'll describe that later on here today.
well, the other thing I'm seeing here is that natural law describes things that we know we should do and that we should not do, right?
Yes.
And we were
Yeah.
talking earlier about women create criminals,
Mhm.
okay? And I assume that we're going to get into this later about why that is, or that
Yes.
why women can't create functional human beings on their own, because what you're saying here about the natural law not being full means that there's an aspect that you're born with, but there's also an aspect that has to be instilled, right?
Yes. And there's also, remember, it is God, according to the theology of natural law, it is God himself who inscribes the natural law in his heart. Some might use the term common grace for this, others might not. But that doesn't mean he has to inscribe it on the heart as much as another.
Right.
He's not obligated to do so, but he does to some extent in everyone.
Well, I mean, even the criminals know what they're doing is wrong. They just don't care.
All right.
Well, okay, I want to make a point here. We're talking father custody. You're basing it on natural
Yes.
law.
Yes.
Pretty much a lot of people just say, I don't care about natural law. What does the Bible say? Okay,
Well, natural
the
law is
Bible,
actually reflected in the Ten Commandments. We'll get to that.
okay, yeah. But father custody at the very beginning was in the beginning. Adam,
Mhm.
man was created with dominion. Woman was created from man to be a helpmate. So,
Right.
dominion, Adam named the animals. He had dominion. Eve was under him. So we have a
Yes.
hierarchy. And therefore, since he has dominion, women were never given dominion. A mother was never given dominion. Custody
No.
is dominion. So
No, they were not given custody.
when a woman is given custody, she's given dominion. This is anti-Christian, anti-biblical, anti-natural law. It's against
Yes.
the order that God created. And
If you're
yes,
against order,
natural
what
law
happens?
affirms this.
And what happens when you go against order? Go against nature?
Ooh, bad things happen. I mean, you
Chaos,
don't get a good
disorder.
result.
No. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
basic principle. You reject order, you get disorder. You get problems.
Well, what you're really saying here is that physics is, for lack of a better term, the controller here. If you want to go one way, you are explicitly choosing not to go another. If you are choosing disorder, you are choosing not order. You can't have one if you choose the other.
Mhm. You can't have both. You can only have order. If you choose disorder, you will only get disorder. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah.
You there?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
I agree. Yeah.
I think,
Okay.
Nick, you having speaker issues?
I think my internet's crap in this room.
Oh, okay.
I think I got the wrong room.
We'll
Okay, I'm
soldier
trying to
on.
find my notes. I'm trying to find my notes here so I can But can you remove the banner at the bottom? I'm having a hard time reading my notes. Is there a way to do that?
The natural law in the light of nature.
No,
Yeah,
the
well, let's see if we have
scrolling
that banner
down.
going across the bottom.
I can
It's
take
kind of
that
blocking
off.
my screen. Yeah, thanks.
There we go.
There we go. So we'll move on to natural law and the light of nature. Sometimes these are kind of combined, but there's a subtle distinction. This one quote says, "The law of nature is comprehensively known to God alone." See, that's the distinction. "To whom the whole number and forms of relations between himself and men are naked and open. It is stable, permanent, uniform, and everywhere binding. The light of nature is that knowledge of the nature of God and of themselves and of the duties resulting from the connections between them which men actually possess. It is exceedingly diversified in its extent and degree, according to the different capacities, opportunities, and inclinations of men." So that's John Brown of Haddington. I think he's a Scottish Presbyterian. This is Systematic Theology, a compendious view of natural and revealed religion of the, I think he's from the 18th century, if not mistaken. So there's that distinction between natural law and the light of nature. So natural law is it in its totality as known to God, and light of nature is man's capacity, I guess you could say, to comprehend natural law, or his capacity in comprehending, or incapacity. Samuel Rutherford, he says of what is warranted by the direction of nature's light is warranted by the law of nature, and consequently by a divine law, for you can deny the law of nature to be a divine law. It's basically saying God is the creator. If you find something that is a natural law, it is a law given by God.
So does this mean that natural law is kind of a human understanding, and it must be arrived at through reason and understanding what's written on our hearts, what's
Yeah.
the nature of God, what's in the Bible? It's kind of a bringing down all these things to this is how we should live. And you have to arrive at it through knowledge and reason, not through intuition and feelings.
Which is another reason why women create criminals. Women don't
Yes.
arrive at conclusions through rational thought, reason. I mean, they read the Bible, but they read the Bible as basically a how can I get away with doing what I want to do with it?
Mm-hmm. Well, also, you have to ask so the natural law and divine law are not opposed. So, like the divine law, as expressly given in the Word of God, actually is the clearest law of God, because it's this expressed interpretation into a fallen and broken world. But they're not contrary to another. Natural law and divine law are not contrary. They're both of God. But there's classical. So what are some examples of natural law? Well, John Knox was a famous Scottish Presbyterian. He wrote an infamous book that Calvin somewhat critiqued, "The First Blast of the Trumpet Against the Monstrous Regimen of Women." He
Wow.
says of women in
What a great
authority. Yeah.
title.
Oh, yeah. I love it. Yeah, he says, "Yea, they should further pronounce where women reign or be in authority, there must needs vanity to be preferred to virtue, ambition and pride to temperance and modesty, and finally the avarice of the mother of all mischief must needs devour equity and justice." Isn't that kind of what happened with feminist rule and father custody? Interesting. Also, he says of Aristotle, he plausibly speaks of Aristotle, saying, "In Aristotle, as before is touched, doth plainly affirm that wheresoever women bear dominion, there must needs the people be disordered." I can't read that. Living and abounding in all intemperancy, something, pride, excessiveness, and vanity.
Going to pride.
Ah,
probably translates as
And-
given to pride, which is true.
Okay. Well, I got the shadow box over it, so I have a hard time reading some things at the bottom. And finally, in the end, that they must needs come to confusion and ruin.